Today we're working on Laramie's hair. Laramie has a lot of hair. It's very dense, very thick. We're gonna work on a bob shape that takes out some internal weight. So the first thing we do here is just gonna show the sectioning. So we just took a natural side part on her right side, and then we split it down the center back. We've taken our first section out. We're gonna work horizontal sections up through this panel that we've got sectioned off. And just to kind of show the separation, we've gone from that middle parting up to the front hairline, right along the parietal ridge. So starting in that first section, just bringing everything down to no elevation, cutting it in our fingers so we'll have a slight bevel to the edge. Just keeping everything square. Working the same thing on the opposite side. Keeping my grooming really clean, bringing everything down to that same point, and then just cutting a square line that follows the section. So section 2, directly above it, just horizontal. Just bringing it down to the cutting line. No elevation or over direction. The only elevation is that little bit that you're gonna get by cutting it in your fingers. So just slightly beveling the edge of the line. Working to the opposite side. The head is slightly tilted down, so you're gonna get this kind of appearance of the line kind of dropping as it works forward, but we're keeping it very square. So just being aware of the tilt of the head, keeping everything very flat to the floor, bringing it all straight down and cutting on the guide. Same thing, section 3. Just continuing to work my way up, staying as clean as possible, combing from the root all the way down to the line and following the guide. Same thing on the opposite side. Coming from the root, making sure that we're getting a nice even tension and stretch in the hair, and just cutting along my guideline. Keeping the hair consistently damp here is really important. We don't show it, but I'm constantly kind of spraying the hair as I work, just to make sure that we keep everything nice and consistent. Section 4, this one travels all the way to the front. Same technique, bringing everything down to that cutting line. No elevation, no over direction. Walking around the head as I work. So we get into the front here, around the ear. Just coming a little tap. That way we can release the tension. And just keeps us from getting any holes. Now I'm going to go ahead and continue working this side just because it goes through all the way to the front. So same horizontal section from that division line all the way to the front hairline, bringing everything down. No elevation, no over direction, and just using the original guideline as my guide. So you'll notice on this side, I've kind of tucked the hair behind the ear as we get right around to the front. And I'm doing that because I wanted to preserve just a little bit of extra length right around the front hairline. Now you could do that by kind of over directing it. I just wanted to show a different way to do it. So we just kind of comb it around really neatly behind the ear and just bring everything straight down and cut on that same line. It's just going to allow it to get a tad bit longer through the front. Same thing on the opposite side, working all the way through to the front hairline. Just bringing everything straight down from its base, combing from the root, cutting along that original guide. Little tap above the ear. And I didn't over direct the first section on each side behind the ear. I wanted there to be a slight little disconnection in the line, just to kind of give it some texture right up in the front. So it's just little details like that that I think personalize haircuts. Continuing through with the same process, coming from the root, bringing everything down, consistent dampness, consistent tension, just keeping everything really clean. Even re-grooming here, I just wasn't happy with the cleanliness of the section. So tucking it behind the ear, combing it straight down onto that original line, and cutting along the guide. Last section, coming from the root, coming straight down, keeping everything really consistent. Just maintaining that amount of control so I know what the exact outcome is going to be. So I'm just getting my hands into it, kind of looking at the texture. You can see she's kind of got some natural wave to the hair. So taking a vertical section through the back, center back. This is where we're going to remove some of that internal weight. So keeping everything really clean. Going to elevate the top of that section straight out from the head. And right about the high occipital bone, we're going to cut a layer that follows the shape of the head. And notice I'm not working down into the nape. We want to keep that line that we did, but we just want to remove that top part of that panel. Just release some of that weight so when the hair above it falls over, we'll do an internal shape there. So section 2 uses section 1 as a guide. Not really over directing my sections backward, just bringing everything straight out from the head. So section 3 uses section 2, so on and so forth. This would be section 4. So you can see I'm really just combing the hair straight out. And just from about the occipital bone up is where I'm removing that weight. Section 5, straight out from the head. Section 6, same thing. You can see that I'm kind of pushing the guide forward a little bit just to make sure that the section that I'm about to cut is coming straight out and not getting over directed backwards. I don't want that internal weight to get longer towards the front until we get to this point where I start to over direct everything back. So sections 1 through 6 were all cut straight out. Now section 7 gets over directed back to where 6 was. Section 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth. Everything just gets pulled back to that last moving section. So keeping in theme with what we did on the underneath, really preserving that length through the front. Second side, same thing. Just bringing everything straight out from the head. So that's section 2 on that side. Here's section 3. Everything straight out. Kind of following along the shape of the head. Now I just jumped ahead to show the last section here. Everything directed straight back to number 6 on the left side. So we just dropped the length on the top now that was clipped up, and we're bringing it all down to that original cutting line. So she didn't have a lot of hair left, but it was just enough that I could do it all in one section and just bring it down onto that original line. So what you're gonna get is like a line through the bottom, a little bit of interior weight removed through the inside, and then a line that sits over the top of it again. With her curly hair, it's gonna really make the shape expand a bit more. So just bringing everything else that was sectioned up in the top down to that original cutting line, cutting it with just a finger width of elevation. I'm just checking here, making sure that anything doesn't fall over the line. Making sure my balance looks good. And then just kind of checking the texture, really expanding the shape out, kind of seeing what I get. I worked in a little bit of the curl cream just to kind of activate the texture. Now I'm going through and just diffusing. Not using one of the diffusers that has the kind of claw on it, but more of the sock kind. I don't really want to touch it too much. I want this to just emulate what her hair naturally does. So I just pick it up a little bit. The drier it gets, the more aggressive I can kind of get with it. Moving it around, take the diffuser off, kind of let some of that texture sit out. We're using the finishing texture spray. What I want to do is just kind of help to separate those pieces. It's got a little bit of a hold to it, but not a ton. So it's still very pliable and movable. But it definitely helps to build the shape up. So here's kind of the finished look. Just getting my hands in it and really moving that texture around, kind of seeing how I like it. Spraying a little finishing hairspray on it just to get it to stay a bit more. Tuck that one side behind the ear. You can really see the shape there, the line. I like how it opens the cheekbones up when you tuck it behind the ear like that. This is just her kind of moving it around, allowing her to kind of feel how it's going to be for her. So it's just a really heavy bob with some internal weight removed. Great option for somebody who has a ton of hair.